What's going on, movie fans? It is Brad from Let's Be Real Brad, and today in the channel, I want to talk to you guys about the brand new upcoming superhero movie from the MCU called Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is written and directed by James Gunn, who wrote the previous two movies, and it is a sequel to both Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It is the 32nd movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it stars all the beloved cast from the previous two movies and universe. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is in my top 10 most anticipated movies of the year, like most movie fans who are really excited about the big movies and the MCU, as this is the final movie in this trilogy that has been gearing up so many different theories and questions of what's going to happen in this film. With this final film, I have to say that this movie was really good. I love this movie so much. Even though I do have its gripes and criticisms, that doesn't make this an all-time great movie. I think as a Guardians fan, and that's just a movie fan in general, this movie just gave me everything I wanted and so much more. So let's just dive right into the positives as I always do, and I gotta start with the performances. Everybody in this movie is fantastic, and you feel like everybody is now just so comfortable in these roles, and they are able to embody these characters with having such big names that I was never distracted by it because they are the characters. Chris Pratt is once again great as Star-Lord, and I also love Dave Bautista as Drax, who gave some of the best comedic performances of the movie. Bradley Cooper is once again amazing as Rocket Raccoon. It's so crazy to say that Bradley Cooper is in a Marvel movie, but he is, and he is just so good as this character. Everybody else is great, especially with Karen Gillan as Nebula and Zoe Saldana as Gamora. Everybody just is so good in this movie, and there was just so much emotion that was poured through these performances, especially with this movie being kind of sad in a lot of moments of the movie, and a lot of very wholesome and genuine moments. It definitely got me in my feels. Speaking of emotion, this has some of the best emotional scenes out of any MCU movie, and it also has some of the darkest scenes as well, which has been a topic of criticism, which I really don't understand, because this has been a major criticism of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, with not feeling like there's enough tension or stakes, or not even being remotely dark enough, and this movie goes for it. There are so many emotional and dark moments in this movie that I can't even hint at what it could possibly be, because it would just end up being an indirect spoiler, and I found it to be some of the strongest and best moments, and it really goes to show that James Gunn isn't just about the comedy and having a fun movie. He can also make a very drama-filled movie that's actually genuine, and you feel something, and that is what I've been missing from a lot of these Marvel movies, is to feel something, and I definitely did with this one. But of course, we have to have the comedy, and this is still one of the funniest movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, along with the other Guardians movies. This movie does not miss a beat with the comedy, as I laughed at every single joke in this movie. It was hysterical. I was laughing out loud so many times. This film also features Marvel Studios' first F-bomb in a movie, and let me tell you, it had my audience roaring in laughter. It was the biggest laugh of the whole movie, and rightfully so. It was used perfectly. This movie also has such a great pace to it, like all the other Guardians movies, where it just flows so nicely and naturally, and you don't really feel like Marvel is interfering with these movies, because they feel like James Gunn's movies rather than the Marvel typical movies that we get, and I honestly think that's for the better. You look at this movie compared to the other movies in terms of CGI, the sound design, the music, the cinematography is all just so much better than the other movies, and in this movie the CGI is some of its best since Avengers Endgame. I was just in awe of the visual effects in this movie, especially with so many different creature designs as well, and I also love the costume design with the great new new costumes. That is a big reference to the comic books of what they do wear, and I think it is awesome. I love it. Yeah, the whole look and feel of this movie is great. Unfortunately, I do have a few criticisms with this movie, and I do have to start with the character of Adam Warlock, who is introduced into this movie, played by Will Poulter, as he has been hinted at in the previous movies, and everybody has been wanting Adam Warlock if you are a big comic book fan, because he is a big character in the Marvel comic books, and he is not a very good character in this movie. And I understand that this is going to be a different version of the character that we know from the comics, and I'm okay with that, but I feel that this character is just shoved into this movie, and I think a lot of people will agree with me that this character is just shoved into this movie just for an inconvenience for the other characters and to make a big impact right in the beginning of the movie. But then for the rest of the movie, he really does nothing, and he's not an interesting character. He gets no development at all, and the way they have the character at the end of the film was just so dumb, and it just didn't really fit the movie. I really like Will Poulter's performance. I think he's really good as this character, and I would love to see what they could do with them in the future, but it just feels like Adam Warlock just had to be in this movie so they can set up a new movie in the future and have Adam Warlock in some type of capacity. I also had a lot of criticisms with the screenplay, as this is something I wouldn't have thought of having a lot of criticisms for, because I think James Gunn is a very good writer, and I did have a little bit of criticisms with his previous two Guardians movies, but this one definitely has a lot of issues when it comes to the characters, as there are just too many characters in this movie, and I really love all of them, and I do feel the characters are given a lot of time to shine, but there are a few characters that definitely are not in the movie as much, and when you have such a massive cast, it does feel like it's very jumbled and it jumps all over the place, especially with this backstory that is woven into the movie that I really like, but it doesn't really fit this movie as much as I wanted it to. I almost feel like it should have just been one really big scene in the beginning, or maybe just a short film or something, because it does go on for quite a long time, and while it is really good, it just doesn't mesh together with the rest of the movie. I also felt there was a lot of those really dumb, inconvenient moments that are just plot devices. It's just there just to keep the movie longer and to have more action set pieces. It happens quite often in this movie, and the only way to really talk about it is to go into spoilers with certain character decisions that didn't really feel like that was a big thing in the other Guardians movies, and it was just more noticeable in this one. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is exactly what I wanted for this Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and it was just so satisfying to watch. The soundtrack is electric, it's amazing. The score itself was just some of the best. The performances are great. This is one of the funniest movies in the MCU. It has great pacing. The action sequences are great. It's shot so well, and while it does have its, criticisms, this feels like what I love about the Marvel movies, and it's really just because it is all done by James Gunn, and I am just so happy we were able to get this movie. I probably am going to see this movie again in theaters because it was worth it, especially in IMAX, because this whole movie is shot with IMAX cameras and its IMAX aspect ratio, so definitely see in IMAX. It is worth it. Thank you guys so much for checking out this review. As I want to know below in the comments section, what do you think of this movie, and where would you rank it with the other Marvel Cinematic Universe movies? I can't wait to hear about those. Before you guys check out this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like as you always should, and ring that notification bell so I can see you all in the following video.